that's back to know your limits. You know,
Yeah.
don't go so far off a trail that you're like, I don't know where this goes, and all of a sudden it's a dead end and your vehicle's sliding off
Yep.
a cliff or something. You're like, well,
Went
too
too
bad I'm
far.
in a stock Forerunner, you know.
The winter camping has, for some reason, either it's blowing up on Instagram because people love watching other people suffer by themselves.
Yeah,
Or there's something magical about it.
it's just a bunch of vets that pretty much get out and go camping with each other and, you know, BS and around a campfire and have a beer and just kind of engage with each other, which is nice, you know, and the exploration always makes it more fun.
Now people are learning the limitations of hard shells.
Yeah.
That's not possible with your guys' family.
Yeah.
It's different, and I think the fold-outs are just tried and true. They've worked since the 60s.
Yeah.
They're still going to work today.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times they're better for a lot of people than a hard shell. All right, so we're back in the Free Spirit Podcast studio with Spencer. We're happy you're here. We love talking to you and catching up.
Happy to be here, man. Thanks for having me.
So we're going to talk about a bunch of different stuff today. I think that this conversation could go down probably rabbit holes of just about anything from your guys' big family to your past,
Yep.
military service, and then kind of what you guys are doing in the future. So
Yeah.
why don't you just kind of jump in and give us your background, who you are, for people
Sure.
that maybe don't know who you are.
I
There
do.
may not be not very many of them that don't know who
Yeah,
you are.
yeah.
I don't know.
Well,
So,
there's probably a good amount because as of just recently, I kind of just started showing my face. So a lot of people, even doing a walk around with Mike, you know, from Last Line, we kind of hid my face where we could and introduced me as John, but my real name is Spencer, and that's mainly because of the industry that I work in, being the security industry, and
Yep.
doing a lot of stuff with different three-letter agencies and different special operations groups and international groups. But background primarily is Marines. Got out of high school, was always kind of a brute in high school. I've got the elegance of a sledgehammer, people like to say. So I joined the Marines and served 4 years during that in an ARTI unit, which was super fun. We had a lot of good highs and lows, as all Marines do, you know. And my unit deployed a few times, which was cool, but ended up losing a really good buddy of mine and brought him back here. And pretty much ever since that, I've been losing guys pretty frequently due to, you know, something that we will discuss is the suicide in veterans, which is kind of rough. But
Yeah.
now I'm just, you know, trying to be family man and fit in where I do and continue moving forward, working nonstop, 100 miles per hour.
Yeah. Well, thank you for your service.
Yeah,
I mean, that's one thing that we really value at Free Spirit is that we value the guys that serve our country, whether it's, I mean, I take it as far as like our discounts that we give to either veterans or people in service. Like,
Yeah.
I don't really care if you're a teacher and you're teaching sixth graders, fifth
Yeah.
graders, like call us. Because like we respect service, and I think that that's kind of one thing our family's about. So thank you. We
Absolutely.
appreciate everything you've done and what you're continuing to do. And you and I have always had really cool conversations about getting involved. And I don't think that we've done a good enough job yet to get involved, but it's like on the horizon. It's why I love having these conversations. They're not empty promises, but something we want to do. We just got to find the right thing to do. So I think it'll be really fun. How did the transition from, you know, high school and then like, what was your decision to just go into the Marines?
So I actually had a buddy that I was really good friends with. His name was Brandon Pearson. And I wasn't for the military at all. I had nothing that I wanted to do with it. I was just, you know, the typical kid, drank all the time and fought a bunch. And one morning he had said, hey, you got to wake up. I ended up at his house sometime after a party. And I said, for what? And he said, well, I got to go over to the recruiter. So I said, all right, well, I'll go with you down there. You know, I think it's stupid, but whatever, you know. And I went down there, and next thing you know, I was signing papers. So
Not a didn't come from a military family?
I do have military in my family, but they were all Air Force. And
Okay.
my grandfather on my mom's side, he was Army, and he was through some stuff, but he never talked about nothing. He'd sit out back and smoke a few packs of cigarettes a day, and, you know, maybe you'd get a high out of him or a good morning. That was about it. So
I've had guys that have run into that with, you know, just all the hunting that I've done in my life and been in some pretty remote places where some of these guys disappear to I don't know if it's cope or if it's, I never want to say the wrong thing because I got so much respect. So if I say something wrong, please don't chastise me in the crowd or chastise me. But like, you get worried about them. And I think that that's where you've got involved, is like when you've seen the aftermath of when people come home.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably why you've gotten involved in the overlanding space, because you believe there's benefits in that way. Is that
Absolutely, right? Absolutely. Yeah, there's one thing I say, and probably a lot of other veterans too, is just dealing with the demons, that guys face, whether that may be losing guys, overseas, or dealing with the transition from going to the military to a civilian, because that's really tough on a lot of guys as well. They struggle when you get out. You've got guys that would legitimately bury a body for you, and you get out and you're kind of on your own in the civilian realm, and that's a tough pill to swallow for a lot of guys. That camaraderie is kind of gone.
That happens to a lot of people. I mean, I know it from, I played individual sports, but I know it from professional sports. It's the only thing that I can relate it to, is like, you could even do a job where it's like you fall out of a job that you just loved, but it was the people that were around you that were your brothers and sisters, and
Absolutely.
like on the battlefield, in a sense.
Absolutely, and that's something that kind of resonates, I think, a lot with guys. Brotherhood is a very strong thing in the military, and that sisterhood as well. I mean, as human beings, we're very social creatures.
Yeah.
And so I think that the issue is a lot of guys tend to self-isolate, and that's where the spiral kind of comes from.
And that happens in normal society too.
Yeah,
you see
absolutely.
that with people that are having issues with mental health or whatever, they alienate themselves a little bit. And so what your and I's conversations, I think when you and I first met, it was kind of like an instant. We both knew, whether it was like, I knew you were a good dude the minute that I met you.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you felt the same thing about me, but like that service, or like helping those guys. I know at expos we meet a lot of these guys that are doing the overlanding stuff and trying to get that team unit back together. Maybe you can describe to us what overlanding does as like a team unit for guys that are coming back home and trying to get together, because I think that's one of the things that we've talked a lot about.
And there are good organizations out there. Veteran Overland's another one there, where I know one of the guys from, who's just a solid guy, but it's just a bunch of vets that pretty much get out and go camping with each other, and BS and around a campfire and have a beer, and just kind of engage with each other, which is nice, and the exploration always makes it more fun, whether that be backpacking, even outside of overlanding, backpacking in the woods, or, as from hunting, getting far back in there, the adventure and the struggle kind of makes everything worthwhile.
Yeah, I always say chasing no cell signal,
That's
but
right.
then I bought a Starlink, and it was like the coolest thing I bought in the last couple of years.
Back to being
was
connected.
Like, now I'm connected again. Like, okay, but I can unplug it, which is legit.
Yeah.
I always find it very interesting in the sense of that team and these guys getting back together where they need to conversate.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we talked about the isolation, and we talked about like our best conversations, the things that we always remember are usually around a campfire or a shared experience.
Exactly.
And I've talked to a lot of these organizations, and it's hard to get involved in it, and that's an excuse from me, but a lot of times it's like, hey, we've got 10 rigs and we set this up, and it's like, now I'm going to shoot myself in the foot a little bit. We want to support. It's just, what's the best way to do it?
That is one of the toughest things. And there's so many organizations out there that are trying to do things for veterans, but at the same time, there's just a lack of presence. There's a lack of, whether it be media presence or anything. I mean, I couldn't tell you how many actual organizations there are for veterans, but nobody knows about them. You know what I mean? Non-Standard's one that we've been talking to for a while, and they do a lot of cold plunge therapy. I know you and Mike had talked about that a little bit. I started doing cold plunge, got my parents into doing cold plunge. I mean, there's a lot of benefits there, but they do a wealth of other things as well. They'll pay for jiu-jitsu memberships, and so it's pretty cool, and that's something that we could chat about as well, is try and raise funds for them, or even start something new, But, I think that's the biggest dilemma, though, for many veterans, is just being able to actually find where to go. You know, find an organization that actually fits your mold.
Well, and I think that goes into, there needs to be enough of them that are supported where you can find your people, because I think as we all grow up, or we get out of something and we get into something new, it's finding, whether you move to a new town, it's like finding your new friends, giving people avenues. to me, it's one of the coolest things about this whole overlanding industry or vehicle sustained travel, whatever you want to call it, is that people are getting together again. Like that community, at least I feel like it's coming back. I may be an anomaly because I'm not on social media all the time, but like, I want to do this.
Yeah.
I mean, like calling you is great. But like sitting around a campfire is 10 times better.
Well, and that's something that my wife and I talk to our kids about a lot as well. You know, when I leave this earth, nothing that we own is going to be around anymore. You know what I mean? The really nice Sequoia that we have, or the house that we live in, or the TVs. The only thing that we leave with us when we die on this earth is reputation and memories. You know, you may have photographs. That's why I'm always I'm a big advocate of constantly videoing and photographing everything, just because those are memories, you know. I don't know if I'm going to get Alzheimer's. I already forget things half the time. So.
Right.
But, you know, that's a very important factor to why we overland, and to be able to sit there like this is going to be a core memory, sitting on this podcast and being able to chat with you and actually have a heart-to-heart on.
We'll see if we gain any weight over the next 10 years.
Yeah. So, but I mean, it's definitely an important thing to do, is just get out and actually be social with people. And I think technology kind of ruins that as well, you know, within reason. And that's something that's always driven us to being able to overland. That's something that my wife and I had talked about a lot, is just to be able to escape from the reality of the world, you know. Kind of all your worries and cares kind of go away when you're out there.
Let's transition to your big family, and
sure,
because that's obviously family owned and operated company here. We value that. We push it a lot. I challenge people on the end of the podcast. I'll ask you a question, and but you kind of touched on it with the kids and getting them out there. But like, what does that do to your guys' family unit? Like for other parents,
it's tough. It's tough to do, but you know, there's a lot of struggle with it, especially having a toddler. We've got a toddler that's 2, that's just an absolute heathen, and she's just curious all the time. So that's one of those things that you can't really reprimand her for it, because everything's new and everything's cool and everything's exciting. It's tough. It's fun though. You know, it's fun to watch them grow, and it's fun to watch them see a deer for the first time, or an elk, or, you know, hopefully not a bear, but a bear as well sometimes comes.
You know how to handle it.
Yeah. And so, you know, that's always, it's just the experience. You're creating your kids to be more adventurous than to just sit behind a desk and work a 9 to 5, you know, or whatever it is. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but you know, that's kind of our goal, is just to allow them to experience the wonders of the world. You know, you know, kind of God's creation, if you will, is just something that's always fascinated us, and watching our kids kind of grow into that outdoor lifestyle is really neat.
People I get questions from my family probably more than anyone else, of like, they see my like addiction for being during hunting season. Now everybody through this podcast is probably learning a little bit more about me, that like, I don't camp a ton in the summer, because we are just slam busy here. But once the fall comes, I've already got, I think, 30 days that I'm supposed to be out in a tent helping guys elk hunt. And that to me is like my disconnect time. Like, I can't wait to get there. And people ask, why are you so addicted? There's 2 reasons. One, I love watching grown men piss their pants and they get so nervous when an elk comes in. That's like number 1. Like, it's transitioned from me wanting to be the gunner, or, you know, I hunt with a bow all the time. I'm like, I do the hardest thing and try to do it right. But the other thing is when you're standing on top of a mountain, I don't think anybody really understands how close you feel to God or anything else when you're sleeping on top of a mountain, and there's no light transmission. There's just something you feel different. And I don't know if the kids necessarily get that, but I think over time they do. They realize it's different. I
would imagine they do, since they stay up almost the entire night, just because they want to look at stars, or they hear something in the woods, or you know, whatever it might be. And we're big on astrophotography. I love getting out there. I mean, if you've never looked at stars through NVGs or night vision, there's something surreal about it. And the closest thing you could probably get is by doing astrophotography.
Really?
And you just see everything come to light. I'm not as great as I would like to be. I know.
That's all the long, I mean, like, now I'm going to sound like a real idiot. That's all the long exposure.
Yep. long exposure, you just go out, find a place a little bit away from camp where you might have a good background and point your camera at the stars and let it go for a while, which is
cool.
is fun, but being tough even, it's you can't see the best in the dark, so I'll click
Right.
it and you can't have any light, and next thing you know, you hear things rustling behind you and you're like, come on, hurry up. And you're just waiting for it to click so you can find out what the heck it is behind
Right.
you, but it's fun, and being able to show the kids and get them involved in that, it makes them realize that we are really a lot smaller than we think in this universe. It's kind of an interesting feeling.
Right.
Sure.
What's their favorite? Like, do you guys have favorite spots? Like the kids are like, if they're going camping, they're like, I want to go here. Do you guys have like a?
We do, yeah. We've got a spot up by Steamboat, which is kind of neat as well. I took all the older kids up there about a year ago, and it's been a spot in our family for generations.
That's
My
awesome.
grandfather used to fish up there, and there's a little lake that you have to trek into. It's probably a 2-mile trek uphill, and so the boys came out from Hawaii, and I took the girls with us, and we all went and hung around with my wife's brother.
Very cool.
And took them up there, and it was just neat to see it be passed down through the generations of, same photo, same lake, same, type of experience. And
that's awesome.
so we go up there, and they're always like, when are we going back? When are we going back? Can we go hike again? And so some of them, I don't want to say all of them, because the boys from Hawaii kind of had an altitude shock.
Right.
So I had to carry one of them out. But, it's just a good time. It's good fun.
With your background, and I jump all over the place when I hear people say interesting stuff, but
Sure.
altitude.
Sure.
What's your training, your background? Like when that happens to, let's say somebody comes from Oklahoma to Colorado.
Sure.
They want to go overlanding, they want to go camping, and they're at 10,000 feet. What are some of the precautions that people can take?
Stay hydrated. Definitely know your limits. Know when exhaustion starts to set in, because you see it all the time, which is also why a lot of guys that people in general come out here to go hike the big 14ers. They get in trouble and they end up dying because of it. They either leave too late in the day, especially in the summers where we get those evening thunderstorms or afternoon thunderstorms that roll in. They don't pack enough water, and then the altitude kind of starts making them sick, and they make bad choices. So complacency kills is something that we always tell people. And I don't want to say that I'm like a search and rescue expert by any means, but I definitely know my limits and know when to kind of avoid that. So.
Well, and you found them too through training, right?
Yeah.
Like you know them, but you guys have been trained to push through them.
Yeah.
But still, bad things happen, and
it can. Yeah, you see a lot of injuries, whether it be like a heat stroke or we've had injuries in almost every training event that we do. Whether it be a gun blow up because the timing was off on it, or we had one of our cannons explode at one point in a breach. Almost took my face off at probably 1,300 feet per second. So there's just different things that can happen, and a lot of it's just understanding how to remain calm in certain situations when it seems like absolute chaos. So that's the biggest thing. Even when we took one of our daughters to a overland meetup here in Colorado, and she was running around and smacked her knee on a steel grated step and split it wide open, and typical parent is, oh my gosh, that's the worst thing in the world.
We gotta go.
So I'm like, all right, let's go to the back, let's get some butterfly stitches, we'll patch you up and get you fixed. And she's, you change the mentality, and staying calm and cool and collected definitely brings a different thought process to those that are injured. You know what I mean? Depending on what it is. If it's heat stroke or something like that, obviously there's so much that you can do.
Right.
So
you heard, and I only know about this. We had a couple come in here. They were from out of state, but they were actually coming in. They had stopped in to see us, and they were going to a funeral. And it was, I don't know what branch he was in, but was climbing one of the 14ers down by Colorado Springs by himself and fell off. And I haven't done any of the 14ers, and mainly because I'm up 12 or 13,000 feet elk hunting, so I don't know why I got to go higher. But there's nothing up there.
Sure.
That was really sad, but things happen. And I think for me, like when I had that conversation with those folks, and they were related to him, was he going through it? And then it's like that community thing that we had been talking about earlier.
Sure.
Is like, man, if somebody, and I don't know the story, but if somebody maybe just grabbed a hold of that dude, and was like, come on, let's go camping. You don't need to do things by yourself.
Yeah, it's interesting because a lot of times there's ways of mitigating risk. It is unfortunate for the family. Sometimes things just happen, and there's nothing you can do about it. I remember growing up as a kid, and there was a family headed east on I-70 going out towards Kansas, far outskirts of Colorado, and it was 5:30 in the morning, and a beam from a bridge fell and killed everybody in the car. And it's like, what's the likelihood of that happening? You know what I mean? That's ridiculous. There are ways of mitigating, that potential risk, but not for that. You know what I mean? You never know. And having a buddy or having someone else around is always crucial to a lot of different adventures that you go on. You know what I mean?
Without talking shit on people that don't know what they're doing when they're out there, like, because we're like an avenue to get people out there in an easier way than what traditional camping was. Like thinking about setting all that stuff up or thinking about parking your car. Yeah. All the times you've been out there, what are the things, like basics, that people just like need to know? Is it camp with somebody else? Make sure you got, like, if you're a newbie, make sure the buddy system or whatever. What are a few pointers? I'm
a huge advocate for learning through other people. So even now, I still learn stuff through either Mike from Last Line or Talon or you or whoever it is, because there may be a new technique or a new stove or a new way of cooking food or finding water or whatever it is. Mike from Fieldcraft Survival, I don't know if you know them, Mike Glover.
Love him, yeah.
He does a lot of that stuff, and one thing I can say is just learn through other people. You know what I mean? Don't push beyond your means. Yeah. A lot of people want to get out and you go camp your truck. That's great, but if you don't know the area, don't go wandering off in the woods. For a few miles, because it can all look the same really quick, as you know. So.
And if you get a little delusional, it really all looks the same.
Yeah. So, and I think a lot of that falls into everything. Don't take a surfboard and go and try to hit the biggest swell there is if you've never surfed before. Right. Don't go try and climb the biggest peak or the most technical rock climbing if that's your second or third time. Have a little bit of experience, even riding motorcycles for that point. Learn your limits. For sure is definitely a big thing.
There's a lot of fun out there that's accessible, that's not going to get you in trouble. And it's like stay the course or get involved, because like doing these meetups or going to meet other people and hearing from other people, like, I mean, my mom will ask me, like, especially the work stuff, it's like I could go find that, but it's for me, I think I'm reverting back to the human connection of I want to talk to you about it to figure it out. Instead of go struggle through figuring out. It's the human connection of two people working together on a team to figure out the answer in a sense. I just think that the community stuff is really cool. Like it's coming back. It wasn't here in COVID. And now it's like, I think people are starting to like want to get out there, wanting to do things and get out there and see new places.
And that's something that we tried to do kind of early on. We were, I guess, almost like the OGs to the building vehicle. I wouldn't say OGs, but to the newer Toyota styles or the pavement princesses, if you wish, because we built ours out to, all heck and back. But out in California, we had gone to an OC Overland event, and just seeing the community out there and how many people showed up and how friendly everyone was, we were like, man, why doesn't Colorado do anything like this? And we came back and we did a few little meetups, nothing big, and just the turnout that we would get was phenomenal, and just really good people. We'd meet up at a brewery, or something like that, or and I know Jason Overland Eats, or I think he changed his name now. Jason sends it or something like that.
Jason,
Flashy.
Jason flips houses.
Flashy, heck yeah. Well, good on him, But it's interesting to see the community kind of come together, and we see that even doing fundraisers. If I find a veteran in need or an issue that's coming about, I'll do a quick spur of the moment fundraiser. We did one with True Automotive during COVID, and I was like, hey, we should do a toy drive. It was like just a wild idea. Let's just do a toy drive. And he's like, when? I was like, this weekend. Let's do it. It's like, can't be near anyone and can't do this. And so we sat down, got on the phone, and talked with a bunch of people, and we had probably, $10,000 worth of toys and another That's like 15 awesome. Grand in donations, because Kelly Lund was helping us as well, and Mike was there helping us, and so it was just cool to see the entire community just come together to be like, this is where we see a need. You know what I mean? People are losing jobs, people can't afford things now. It's close to Christmas time, let's help. And we'd get truckfuls of stuff that would just show up, all brand new toys, bicycles, Nintendo Switches. You know, it was like everything.
Maybe
Everything
this is the year to blow it out of the
It was
water
cool,
on
man.
that.
It was super cool, and True still is doing it to this day, which is
Very
super
cool.
neat. You know, it's kind of neat to see that continue running. And even this last year, I had lost another really good buddy of mine to suicide, which was a very unfortunate thing. You know, and I decided to reach out to some of the guys in my units and see how everyone was doing, and found a guy who just wasn't doing good. He wasn't in a good way. He was in a bad relationship, and he was kind of stuck there and getting ready to be homeless because of certain things that had played a role in his life. And we did a fundraiser, and I think in 4 days we raised over $5,000, and we had 14 different companies that were on board that were like, hey, we're doing raffles. You know, this is what we're doing to raise money, so you could enter in the raffle, $5 a ticket or whatever it was. And you know, we had people donating $1,000, $1,300, $1,500 just to try and help this one veteran, which was
Good
a really cool thing, you know. And that's life-changing stuff for
Right.
a lot of people. Those are people that are on the brink of calling it quits, you know.
Right.
And to say, like, me, even as a human, I'm humble enough to say that I've been there plenty
Right.
of times, you know, to where it's like I'm done.
Right now.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It's
Yep.
it's a tough thing, and I think mental health is deteriorating a lot, in especially in the U.S. You know, everyone's so pushy with social media, or you know, nobody posts the bad things in their life.
Right.
So you look around and you're doing a self-reflection. You're like, man, this guy's got all this stuff, and
Yep.
he's always going on cool
How
trips.
the hell is he in Costa Rica every 2 weeks?
Yeah,
Or
right.
it's
Well,
just
you never know. The
bullshit.
guy could be in debt up to his eyes, or maybe he's got
Right.
a terrible relationship with his family, or maybe he's going through a divorce or something else. But he's not going to post about that.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I think that it deteriorates people's mental health pretty
Yep.
drastically, along with, you know, other things, diet and
Yep.
lack of exercise or anything else can all play a role. So it's just fascinating, man. It's fascinating to see where we've come as a society, and how we can move forward, you know, as just, you know, helping those that are struggling. It doesn't have to be veterans, don't get me wrong.
Right.
It's everyone. It could be that single mom that's really struggling with life, or
Yep.
anything like that. So
Well, from my standpoint, what I know of that growing up is growing up in the church and having faith, and
Sure.
and like really seeing a church community like gather around, whether it's a single mom or it's somebody that's in need, and you really don't know how much you can change somebody's, like, not monetarily, but literally, like a fucking hug.
Yeah.
You know, like them seeing enough people around with open arms
Yeah.
that are like, dude, we're here.
Yeah.
You know, like, you don't know us, but we're here. Call
Yeah,
if
yeah.
you need us.
And that's one of the coolest things, and I am not going to disagree with you by any means. We're both, you know, church. I don't want to say churchgoers, but we believe in a higher power. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And
You got a relationship.
We believe in a creation, and we have that spiritualness to us, and that's something that constantly keeps you connected, even when you're facing those demons. You know.
Yep.
And so having that relationship with people around you, though, is always a big thing. There's times where you'll just see somebody who looks like they're broken down.
Yep.
You know, and they just need a hug. You never know what they're dealing with.
Who's that guy on Instagram that goes around in his truck and he talks to? Have you seen the guy that goes around and talks to homeless vets?
Yeah,
and he just goes and has a conversation
Yep.
with them, and like, who are you? What's your life story? Tell me about it. Sometimes, like, you roll past those people, and ever since I saw that guy, it's like I pretty much roll down my window and it's like, what's up, man? You doing okay? It's like they're humans too.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And we all go through shit, but it's like, be a human that you would want another human to be to you.
Exactly. And me and another guy on my team currently, that we work for a fairly wealthy client, you know, and she likes to give back, and that's one of the things we do is we go out and we feed the homeless every week, you know, and it can be risky, sure, but 90% of the time when you're helping people, they want the help.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we've actually had situations like that up here where one dude was just crying, you know, sitting on the street, and I walked over and I'm like, what's going on, man? You want a hug? You know,
Yeah.
I'll give you a hug. I ain't scared of nothing. You
Right.
know? Granted, now you got to be a little bit more careful with different drugs that are introducing themselves, but
Yep.
these guys are on the streets. You know
Yep.
what I mean? If I was on the streets, I can't say that I wouldn't start doing drugs or drinking a bunch. I'd probably be pretty miserable too.
Yeah, you
so.
had to sleep on concrete.
But like you said, they're all humans. You
Yep.
know what I mean? And I gave that guy a hug, and he was like, that saved me, essentially. He's like, because I was down and out, man. I was ready to just be done, call it
Yep.
quits. You know, so there's just something that's so simple and it's free.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't cost nothing.
Love is free.
Yeah. Doesn't take much to be a good person.
That's
you know what I
pretty
mean? Which is interesting. A lot of the guys that you'll meet in my industry, if you want to call it the pipe hitter industry or the security or military or, I mean, hell, I'm buddies with a guy who's a Delta guy, a really good dude. And Delta is one of the most secretive, badass groups in, you know, the U.S. military.
Mm-hmm.
They're very covert and nobody really knows who they are. I'm also buddies with one of the guys who was on the Bin Laden raid. And both of those guys are giddy and happy, and they just make you feel good being around them.
Yeah.
And it's like, here you got a dude who was an absolute savage to the bad guy. But they, you know, my buddy Jim Irwin, I'll tell you the Delta guy's name because now he's pretty popular in the shooting industry and stuff like that. But my buddy Jim Irwin, I'll never forget, we were sitting on this range waiting to help run this range out in Pawnee or something like that. And they've got all these machine guns kind of set up over there, and it's me and him and my wife, and we're all standing there. He goes, "Oh man, I got to go check this out." And I'm like, "Oh, typical. He's going to go look at the machine guns." And he goes over, and there's this little puppy. He's like, "Oh," you know, and I'm just like, what are you doing, dude? He's like, "Man," he goes, "those are the things that you miss out on, though." You know what I mean? You end up being around it so much that you miss out on the cute things and the lovey things and the rainbows and the butterflies, you know? So it's fascinating. It's fun. But all those guys they're lovable people. Yeah. They'll show you nonstop love, you know? I wouldn't want to get on the bad side, but
right.
they show you nonstop
them
love.
There if I'm in a bad situation.
Yeah. My other buddy, he goes by Mark Owen, essentially. He's the guy that wrote No Easy Day, the book No Easy Day, but he's just a down-to-earth guy. He hit me up on Instagram one time. He's like, "Hey, man," and I thought it was crap, you know? I was like, "No, this dude's, it's a scam page or something." He's like, "Let's go get dinner." So we're like, all right. We went and met up with him, drove down, and just talked trucks.
That's awesome.
He's got a lifted Tundra that's decked out, you know, long traveled and everything. He does all kinds of good stuff. But he did a bunch of stuff for vets too.
Okay.
Started up different organizations to try and help veterans, and he tries to give back. Both guys do, you know, and it's cool to see.
It's just neat to hear that there's a lot out there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, not that maybe there needs to be more shined on it.
Sure.
Or you know, however, what we could do to shine a light on it or whatever. I don't know what that is from Free Spirit yet. We've had a bunch of different ideas. We wanted to do fundraisers. Even the one that Mike did last year, I think it was last year, he was raising money for child sex trafficking. I think that's what it was.
Yep, with the truck.
Yep.
That's right, yeah.
I mean, raised a bunch of money with Diamondback, and like that had to feel so good. So like we've wanted to do that stuff, and
it's cool, man.
We need to do it at some point.
It's a cool experience. I've got a lot of buddies that I served with that are missing limbs, and there's the Gary Sinise Foundation that's, you know, giving guys trucks and homes and, you know, just really cool things. And these are guys that aren't capable of necessarily living in your standardized home. Yeah. You know, so everything gets custom tailored to them, which is really neat, and that's a cool thing. Not saying that's what Free Spirit should do, because that's a pretty.
I would love to buy houses, but you guys need to buy.
I don't know. I don't know if that's a good business model for y'all, but you know, there's different ways of helping, and one of them I think is just bringing everything to light. You know, bringing awareness on it, whether it be, you know, we do a cookout or something. We could bring in different organizations to come and kind of, you know, be around and advocate, and it would just bring a good awareness to a lot of the things that people may be dealing with, or just bringing a community together mainly.
I know I've talked to you about this before. I don't think I've ever talked about it on the podcast, but the one I've always wanted to do. I think Friendsgiving is like one of the coolest things that has transpired from Thanksgiving. Like, I don't like turkey. I'd rather eat steak. You know, turkey tastes like shit no matter what. I don't care if it's fried or not. Like, give me the leg, I'll take the dark meat.
And wild's even worse too.
Not good. So I call a spade a spade.
A
ribeye is better than the elk that you killed. I'm sorry, we can have that conversation, but a ribeye is better. You know? But I've always thought it would be really fun to like get on top of a mountain, do a Friendsgiving, and have like picnic tables that were 100 yards long.
Dude, that'd be cool.
And then have like this massive potluck of a community thing early in November. And for Free Spirit, where that would be cool is that we are kind of the performance fabric, making sure that we know the temperatures are going to be lower than what you think that they are. A black tent is a black tent for a reason.
Right.
We're in the business of sleeping.
Yep.
And, we kind of turn on when it gets dark.
Yeah.
But from the overall community standpoint in Friendsgiving, right as you get into like that winter or fall camping season, when most people are hanging up their stuff,
Yeah.
and they're either going to go skiing or whatnot, the winter camping has, for some reason, either it's blowing up on Instagram because people love watching other people suffer by themselves,
Yeah.
or there's something magical about it.
I'd definitely say there's something magical about it. I think the magic, a lot of times, especially if you're camping with other people, is enduring all of that with someone else.
Yeah.
I mean, that is just something that is something I long for. I
Uh-huh.
love it. You know what I mean? Me and my dad will go hiking back country, and he's like, "What are we packing?" I'm like, "We're going to make a lean-to, man. That's it." You know
Yeah.
what I mean? That we're laying in our clothes
Yep.
on the ground. Hopefully it doesn't rain, and that's just enduring that is something different. It's
Yeah.
fun. It's to be able to say, I did it.
Doing something
You know what I mean?
hard.
Yeah, yeah. Doing something tough. Doing something tough when it gets cold. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? We've camped in really, really cold weather, and it's there's just something about it.
No
It
pain,
just-
no gain.
Yeah, that's it, man. And even on my team, one of the things I do with new guys that are coming on my team, we'll be out there and we'll be just beating pavement, man, just working out like all hell. And I'm like, oh, my goal is to see if you quit or not.
Yeah.
We're gonna find out. If you quit, then I know where I can stay true to you. Because
Right.
if we get into a bad situation, and I know you're gonna quit, you know what I mean. So I'll push people through. And if you're vomiting and I'm vomiting, then we're good. We're doing
Right.
something right. You know what I
Right, we
mean? We
got
both
there.
know that we're not quitting at this,
Yep.
And that's why a lot of, even on the SEAL teams, all their guys and buds are active duty SEALs. And that's because the candidates that are coming through, they're looking at them going, would I trust this guy on the team?
Right.
I don't know. Did he break? Did he quit?
Yeah.
I don't want him. So I correlate a lot of that to camping in that same essence, where it's like, I can really, if you're out there enduring this crap with me, I mean, I'll do just dumb stuff because I'm, stone-headed,
Yeah.
but I'll push myself farther to where my legs are breaking off.
Yep.
But just because I'm such a competitive person. But I mean, if you're out there enduring it with me, man, it shows a whole new level of respect. For sure.
I want to go back to the kids and like just the example that
Yeah.
you're setting for your kids as like what, I don't want to get political, but like what men should do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And who they should be for their
Sure.
kids, and like going through and showing some of that hard stuff where like I'm reading a book right now, and one of the things is like people are, I want to retire. I don't want to work anymore.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, once you turn 18, the battlefield starts of
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
Like you're never leaving it. So
Yep.
don't think about stepping off the battlefield.
Yeah.
You got to keep going.
Yeah. You
And
got to keep pushing, man.
Show your kids that is cool.
Well, and for someone who owns a company like you know the struggles that you face behind it. I've owned a few different companies, more protection agencies and stuff like that, but it's you endure a lot more than
Yeah.
you do going and working for someone. You reap the benefits if it pans out, but it's showing that endurance and showing the problem solving skills and kind of figuring things out. And that's something that we teach our kids too,
Yep.
even small things. I'm like, okay, you want to go make bracelets and sell bracelets? Great. Well, here's what's going to happen. I'll buy them. You're going to, whatever you make, you've got to pay me back for them because that's your loan, and then your profits after that. So you decide on whether or not you want to buy more
Yep.
to keep making money, or you want to call it quits, and go and
That's
spend your
cool.
money. So, it's fun to see them kind of grasp that and learn from it, and then all of a
Yep.
sudden they're probably making more money than I am. Dang.
I mean, the opportunity, and I don't love this, but like the opportunity with the whole world that we live in, it's easier to make money younger and younger and younger
Yeah.
and younger than it ever has been before.
Yeah, it's that resiliency too. It's the kids are, a lot of the people that are go-getters that are actually making a ton of money. They either know all the internet stuff, which I'm a Stone Age caveman for that, or B, they just have that persistency to them. You know what I mean? A 20-year-old will have more endurance than somebody who's 55, depending. It depends on how hard the guy is, but that's you see that a lot, and it's really cool to see. They've got more lifespan, I guess, to mess up.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Well, I think they're learning too, and as the world becomes less focused on people
Mm-hmm.
and buying from somebody, and like I remember when I was a kid, like certain shops that I would like go buy my basketball shoes from,
Yeah.
or I knew those people.
Yeah.
You know, whether I knew them from basketball or
Yep.
if it was a referral or whatever, I always bought from somebody.
Sure.
And I think that that's why I got involved in sales when I got done playing golf, was because I still think there's that human connection of like buying from somebody, not,
Yeah.
you know, you're buying from a company. Because there's a lot of companies, we don't know the stuff that we buy, who's behind it.
Yeah, yeah.
But having an opportunity to know who you're buying from,
Absolutely.
putting your trust in that person, like that's what we want to be. We want you to have a good experience when you come here, and we are going to try our hardest for everybody.
Yeah, yeah. That's
But
what's cool.
You can't make all of the people in this world happy because
Yeah.
everybody's so different.
And some people pride themselves on the miserableness, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I've worked for people that have had more money than they could fathom having, and they were the most miserable people I'd ever met.
Yep.
Just always depressed, always negative about stuff, and it's like, well, for what?
Yep.
You know what I mean? And on that note, what you're talking about, the other side of it, where we stand, we get a lot of guys on social media. I mean, we work with a bunch of different companies, and I don't want to say work with, but and they're like, well, how do you get sponsored for this? How do you get sponsored for that? Well, I've got more followers than you do. And I'm like, it's not about the following, man. I'm friends with these people.
Yep.
I pride myself in having relationships with these people, and it makes it a lot easier for me to push free spirit if we're friends.
Yep.
You know, and it's not saying that I wouldn't pay for anything, you know, because I do, but it just makes it 10 times easier when we're buddies.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It's not that they need to coincide business and work in relationships with people, but I think a lot of people get it confused on, well, I've got a big following, so I should be able to get sponsorships.
Yep.
I'm like, that's not how it works. You got to add value somewhere in there. You know what I mean?
I love the personal side, or the personal touch to what you just said, because we have a lot of people that email into Free Spirit, want to be ambassadors
Yeah.
of Free Spirit, and want to work for us in that regard. Yeah. We can't say yes to everybody, but like the people that we say yes to, I feel like more times than not, it's maybe not on the number of followers.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say like your commitment level to Free Spirit, but like if I find a badass product and I find really good people behind the product, I'm like 10 times more likely to tell other people about it. So I want people invested in, not necessarily that Free Spirit's got a great product, and like that should be a given, but like I want you guys to push the messaging behind what we're really about, because I think that that's the human connection that people get, and they're like, I'm good with that.
Yeah.
I like that company.
Yeah.
I don't know that company, and when I call in, I don't know who I talk to.
Yeah.
You know, I want you to call and be like, hey Sam, what's up?
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
like I want, as we get bigger, it's going to get harder, right?
Yeah.
But I still want that human connection.
Sure.
Because it's just kind of a part of everything I've done.
It's going back to being social creatures, man. You know, we are social creatures, and at the end of the day, we want to have that relationship with people.
Yep.
Most people do. I don't want to say everyone does, but
not
you know,
everybody does.
yeah. Some people are not people. I guess you know, they're not people. They don't like being around people all that much, which you know, I understand. I don't always either, but
I get like goofy if I'm not around people. Like I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And I want to go to the health and wellness side a little bit. I want to talk about myself just for a second, because what you brought
Love
up,
to hear it.
As far as the mental health and different things like that, as you go through life, and what I'm experiencing right now is just chaos.
Sure.
As Free Spirit's growing, and my kind of entrepreneurial journey, my brother, my sister, like you get so much thrown at you that you don't really know where to function and how to function, and you can get lost. And like I didn't think it was going to happen to me.
Sure.
I got lost. I got lost in June. I know our employees saw it, and I was like, I kind of need like a refresher. I need a break, and I need to figure it out. And I went to like cold plunge stuff, saunas, focusing a little bit more on what am I doing, how am I doing in a day, what do I enjoy, how can I be a benefit to Free Spirit versus the dude that's running around here trying to be everything for everyone. I burn myself out
Yeah.
really quick. And so I've been doing the podcast and I've been around, but I've let these guys soar and kind of do it. And I've kind of taken just a little bit of time to try to recenter priorities, probably more than anything. Like,
Sure.
what's really important to me now at 37?
Yeah.
And the health and wellness side is, I feel like every 30 to 40-year-old dude is
Yeah.
on this health and wellness kick. Like, we're all learning more, not trusting more.
Exactly.
And it's kind of one of those new adventures that I feel like I'm going on to see, like, never leave the battlefield. Can I transform myself every year? Can I reinvent myself every year? Because
Yeah.
it never stops.
No, it doesn't.
What have you seen in the cold plunge therapy? Because you and I have always talked about it.
It's a bizarre thing. When I first kind of got into it, I was like, this is baloney. You know what I mean? I was like, I'm just suffering.
Yep.
And after getting in it the first time, I was like, all right, I might actually kind of get this. You know, it was addicting. And I was like, I can go without it. And I noticed I was more irritable. I noticed that my patience was a lot less if I didn't cold plunge. And so I'll do it first thing in the morning, and I get in there, and that's the calmest that I am. It's just a weird, you know, you don't even think about the water. I don't, at least. I get in there and I'm in my own head and I'm problem solving any life issues that I may have going on.
Yeah.
You know, it's something that's just you get out and you feel thankful and grateful.
Right.
It's cool, man. It's
like
a really
all
cool
the
experience.
blood like rushes to where it's supposed
Yeah,
to be,
yeah.
right? And you get like this full boost of
Yeah.
like what you should be producing
Yeah.
in a sense, and you get out and you're like, damn, that felt good.
That felt
Damn,
great.
it's hard to get in.
It can be, for sure. Yeah.
I mean, dude, there's times where I like set my clock and I'm like, all right, you little bitch, you got 30 seconds
This
to
clock
get
better
in.
move quicker. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, no, there's been a couple of those. I went out and broke ice off because we've got just like a horse trough or a
That's what I
stock
got. I
tank,
got
you
a
know.
big black horse trough.
Man, it works like a charm, dude.
Yep.
But one winter, this last winter, I had to go out there with a sledge and break all the ice off, and I'm going, this is gonna suck. Yeah,
Yep.
you know, it's like, but I'm getting in, I'm doing it.
So you think there's more? There's a mental side.
Huge mental side of
Of
it.
it. And sometimes that's what's best for like
Yeah.
doing the hard things we
Yeah.
talk about. We talked with Mike, like staying hard. We're
Yeah.
all like laughing, like we're trying.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, and-
society's fighting.
Yeah, as you get older, you know, my buddy that's on my team, he runs his own company out of Arkansas called Trojan Securities.
Okay.
And he's tough, man. He's 50-something years old, you know, British dude, super cool guy, but he is hard. And I'm like, I'm 35 and I can feel all my joints hurt. And
Yep.
I don't know how this dude keeps pushing, man, you know? So I'm constantly trying to keep up with him. And that's that stay hard. I got to do something new. I got to find something new that's going to either help with the inflammation that I may be having or, you know, something to get my mind right and get back into that fight, you know, where it's like, all right, I'm still tough. I'm still hard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? My kids test it and I'll show them I'm hard.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's you got to find that well-being. And for anyone who's debating on cold plunges, it is not the same as a cold shower. I feel like
Yes.
a cold shower is worse.
Right.
Cold plunges, it's like you're in and all of a sudden your body just kind of goes numb.
Yep.
You know what I
And
mean?
that's a really good feeling when it does go.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just bought these 35-pound ice block trays. I got 4 of them stuffed in my freezer right
Yep.
now. So when I get home tonight, it's like I'm tossing those
Yeah.
blocks in to be ready for the
Dude,
morning.
it's solid.
And the horse trough, what it cost me $200.
Yeah.
Yeah, the water gets dirty and I gotta drain it and
Sure.
let it out. But it's like the physical battle of getting in is what I wrestle with. Like
Yeah.
I've got injuries. I've got left knee screwed up, right hip screwed up, right shoulder
Yeah.
screwed up. Brain's probably messed up more than all of those, and that's
Sure.
what I need it for that.
Yeah.
But without having a coach or a team,
Yeah.
you know, when we were in college, 5 a.m. workouts is no big deal because there's 5 other dudes that were kicking your ass up out
Yeah,
of
yeah.
bed, and you're like, we gotta go.
Yep.
You lose that, you find out how much guts you got inside of yourself to make yourself do hard things.
Yeah.
And it's one of the things I'm not really great at.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna try to fix it, but I watch a lot of David Goggins. I watch a lot of
Yeah.
Cam Haines, and it's like, dude, you run a marathon every day. And I'm
Yeah.
like, man, I am softer than baby shit.
Yeah.
Like,
Some of those guys are tough, man.
they're
They're-
bad dudes.
Well, and what's interesting is when I say tough, they're mentally tough.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I mean, I'm a bigger dude. I don't want to say that I'm like rocking a 6-pack or nothing, but I hate running, and I can run like a mother effer.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I'll run fast. I used to run 3.2 miles in the Marines in like 17 minutes. And everyone's like, how are you so fast? And I was like, I hate running, dude.
Yep.
Second I'm done running, the second I'm done running. You know what I mean? So I'm going to run faster and get that done. But, you know, you're exactly right, though. Life is based on choices. When you talk about, you know, getting up at 5 in the morning with a bunch of other people, it's easy when you got other people because they're there to motivate you.
Yep.
But the question is, how much can you motivate yourself?
Yep.
You know what I mean? And everything's based on choices. It's hard being poor. It's hard being rich.
Yep.
It's hard being fat. It's hard being skinny, man. You know, it's life
Somebody's
is based
always
on
gonna
choices.
come after you. It doesn't
yeah,
matter.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and having that kind of resilience to yourself is always a big thing. You
They
know?
say
It's-
in
it's
business, and
important.
you're in business, that in the bad times, passion will kind of lead you or get you through, and your heart will get you through. Like,
Yeah.
that's that same thing of like, is your kid gonna give up, or
Yeah.
are they gonna go sell more
Yeah.
bracelets?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Matter of fact, this last Memorial Day, we did a ruck. We try and do it, you know, every year. Obviously, I'm away sometimes on either international trips or working with clients or different stuff. But I was around this year, and I was like, we're doing the ruck, you know. And the year before that, I'd loaded like 105 pounds in this, and we went 16 miles.
Jeez.
From right over here, actually. There's a Marine Memorial right here
right
off
down
6. Yeah, we went over there all the way over to Fort Logan, just through down 470 and all over the place. So my dad, you know, he's like, well, I'll do it with you. So I'm like, we're going to suffer today. I don't care. We're going to see how fast we can do it, you know. And I packed lighter this last go-around. But you know who showed up? Jake, Lucid Wraps, man.
Really?
He showed up. He was like, yeah, I'll do the ruck with you. And I was like, bro, have you, like, not downplaying, because I don't know your background, but
Right.
you done this before? And he's like, yeah, I've gone pretty far. Dude, that mother effer, he can go, man. He pumped. I was like, I got a new respect for you, man, because you were here just dealing with it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you're hammering. It's after 10 miles, you're like, this is getting old. You know, this is getting old and boring, but it's cool because you carry the flag with you. You know,
Yep.
it's for Memorial Day. That's where my buddy's buried, Brandon Pearson, and you're carrying it, and you're along 470, and you got just cars and cars of people honking at you, and you know, just it's a good feeling.
That's
it
awesome.
Keeps you motivated. Gives
What
you
is
goosebumps.
is it Murph? Is that the
Murph is the Yep. So Murph was a SEAL way
Yep.
back when who died. I believe it was Operation Red Wings, I want to say. But that's kind of the thing. It's 100 pull-ups, 200 sit-ups, 300 squats, or 1 mile run, 100 pull-ups, 200 sit-ups, 300 squats, then another mile run.
Yep.
That'll take a toll on you. And you do it traditionally with a weighted vest, but
Yeah, we did it when I lived in Omaha, and I was doing CrossFit every single day, like getting into a community again. Like that's what CrossFit was. It was like, man, I showed up and everybody's going through this, and it sucks.
Yeah.
But when we do Murph, you'd really get your ass kicked.
yeah, it's brutal, man.
I mean, it was fun though afterwards, because like whenever that workout came up, there was always a community event after it.
Yeah.
And it was like, we're all going to go suffer.
Yeah.
And then we're all going to drink beer.
Yep.
And we're all going to laugh and have a good time of what we did. And we got through it, you know?
So it's funny. My dad actually wrote this book called Dear CrossFit Diaries. So him and I used to go do CrossFit all the time. And we had this little spot in Louisville that would do it. And, man, he's 60-something now, you know, maybe 70. But, no, I think he's going to be 70. But he goes, you know, he's like, I got to get out there and do it.
Yeah.
So anyway, me and another buddy, Tyler, who was another prior Marine, we were going to do a ruck run. And we were like, all right, well, we'll do the ruck run on Memorial Day. My dad goes, no, everyone's asking for you to come to the, you know, they want to have Marines here at the CrossFit to do it. And we're like, yeah, all right, well, maybe we're tough enough to go do that with them. And so we get there, and we had thrown our packs in the back too. I think we had 80-pound rucks or something like that. And we get in there, and I was like, we'll do the Murph, but I ain't wearing the pack. Like, that's a lot.
That's a lot.
And Tyler's like, all right, cool. So we're stretching, getting everything ready. We go to run, and he goes, pop the trunk. I'm going to grab my pack. And I'm like, well, if you grab your pack, I'm grabbing my pack, you know? So we did the Murph with our packs, not the 100 pull-ups, 200 push-ups, 300 squats. I think we did squats with our packs, and we did another mile run, man. We were beat. And shortly after, we went and got beers, you know, me and him and our wives. And after we get done drinking a pitcher of beer, he's like, let's do the ruck run. We're like, all right, hammer down, bro. so we did, man. And it was disastrous, but yeah, there's a whole story about it in Deer CrossFit Diaries. It's just funny, man. That
So you
Murph
actually
will get
wrote
you.
a book of
Yeah,
Deer
yeah.
CrossFit
It's just
Diaries?
so. Yeah, it started with him kind of doing Facebook posts to
Okay.
where he's like, I did so many burpees, my eyebrows fell off, and everybody just thought it was the funniest thing in the world. So he ended up putting this book together called Deer CrossFit Diaries, and it's hilarious. You'll read through it and you'll just be like, my dad's a funny guy. He's a comedian. He's always had that sense of humor about him. So
That's awesome.
it's funny, man. It portrays CrossFit pretty well.
Well,
The struggles.
If somebody needs to do Overlanding Diaries or whatever, because it feels like it's becoming a little cult-like where it's not. And this is me just speaking. It's not like open to everyone. Like there's the serious overlanders that maybe don't really want all these people jumping into this, but there were the hunters that we got to grow hunting, and it's like now it's growing, and everybody's like, shit, go back home, like now all my spots are taken.
Bring it back, Well, and that's the, I don't know. I think that it's tough because I don't want to say that we're like full blown overlanders. We definitely get out there and get after it, and I'm not scared of like a tough trail, even in a expensive Sequoia.
Yep.
But at that same time, it's like there's a lot of people that will still go to those paid camp spots and stuff like that. You know what I mean? I see that more times. Our rule of thumb is if a minivan can get back there, that's not some place we want to be.
Yeah.
And so we try and stay away from those type of spots.
But you're not you don't define yourself as like a technical off-roader.
No,
You're not
no.
like a rock crawler.
Not like Talon. I mean, Talon's even pretty technical with stuff, and,
Yep.
and same with Chase. Chase and Point. He's
Yep.
man, that dude's breaking. I think if anybody needs to write an Overlanding Diaries, that's him because he breaks something every time he goes out. But certain things like that where it's like that's also where I know my limits. Like I was talking before, if I'm out by myself and I'm breaking stuff, I am not mechanically inclined.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I will drive that thing back with 2 wheels if I have to.
Yeah,
But
we'll scrape
I'm
our
getting
whole
it.
wheel.
Yeah, I'm getting it back. So, it's just interesting. There's a lot of different. I think there's a fit for a lot of different people, and that's one of the reasons that we build the living crap out of our trucks is because we like to get into places that nobody else wants to.
Yep.
And I got no shame in going down a side-by-side trail.
Right.
I'll figure it out and get pinstripes along the way. I don't want to say that I do that all the time, but I'm also not out there to just beat the crap out of my stuff.
Mike calls it, I can't remember what Mike was saying. What's the term?
A weekender lander, is that what you're talking about?
Like everyday prepared or something like that, where you're thinking about being prepared in all the situations. Are you very big prepper, prepared guy for?
I am more so on life limb type of stuff. I carry med kits. I carry firearms and stuff like that for self-defense if I need it. But and then my typical loadout in my vehicle will be just an accumulation of different stuff. Matter of fact, we use a Matador. We work with Matador, which is a backpacking company out of Boulder, I believe. And they've got something called the SEG, which is like compartmentalized pack.
Yep.
And so I'll have like all my boo-boo stuff up top, which is Band-Aids, ointment, different stuff like that. And then I'll have like bee stings or snake bites or burns or things like that. And I just kind of keep it all organized so that way I've got, with traveling with kids, you always have to kind of prepare for the what if.
Yep.
Just the other day, my daughter fell in our bathroom and all of a sudden grew a tennis ball on her forehead.
Yeah.
So there's just different things that come about. Like your average tourniquet won't always work on a little kid that's got small arms. So how do you handle that? Do you even know how to do that? You know what I mean? Are you prepared for that in that sense? We carry, I've got a power tank on our truck. If we get flats, I've got flat repair stuff. I've got extra water and like a food source in there. You know, so I do keep, I guess, a little bit of essential stuff. I'm not full-blown prep, but I'm like, 24, 48 hour will be all right type of
You're not
thing.
end of the world prepping. You're every day,
Yeah.
prepping for something that could happen every day.
Exactly. And home might be a little bit different. I've obviously got things built out a little differently there.
Yeah.
But, vehicle it's a good component to have for you while you're out there. It's a good survival tool for sure. It's a shelter if you don't have a tent. You know what I mean? there's a lot of different things that can come into play that can help you in a vehicle,
Yep.
you know, to be able to survive. But that's back to know your limits. You know,
Yeah.
don't go so far off a trail that you're like, I don't know where this goes, and all of a sudden it's a dead end and your vehicle's sliding off
Yep.
a cliff or something. You're like, well,
Went
too
too
bad I'm in
far.
a stock Forerunner, you know. So it's like know that limit for sure, and understand you may get stuck out there.
Right.
You know?
What do you think for all the people that are camping on top of their vehicles in rooftop tents, do you think that there's a weather limit to like true safety, like where you should actually get in your car and use it as that shelter?
You know, I don't, because a lot of the tents, even the high country that we have, is solid.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's robust. So I'm not too worried about big rainstorms or even hailstorms for that matter.
Yeah.
I think if you get into like a lightning storm or maybe like a massive snowstorm, that might be a pro and con, because
Yep.
it's like, you know, you may have a hard time getting in, because this is Colorado. You can get feet of snow here.
Right.
You know what I mean? If you can't get back into your car to actually run a heater or something, if you don't have one up there, then you could be in trouble.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I don't think that that's a likely occurrence, because I don't find a bunch of people that would probably put themselves in that situation.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't really think there is a big weather limit. Have you guys seen any big weather limits on your tents?
No, we haven't seen, like, I think we more get questions from people that they don't know their limits, and they
Yeah.
don't know the product's limits. And so they get nervous in a sense about it. And I would say wind's the biggest one.
And that's what's crazy. Like, I've been in some pretty gnarly windstorms while camping, and in your tent, and didn't have. I mean, it's not like it's a McDonald's bag. It's they're sturdy, man.
Yeah.
They will hold up, and it's bolted to a
Car.
vehicle. Yeah, you know what I mean. So
Yeah.
if it blows away, then you're probably in a bad spot, because your truck's going with it.
Right.
you
Yeah,
know what I
you're
mean? So
rolling, or
yeah.
you're in a bad situation.
So, you know, it gets noisy.
Yep.
You know, I don't think it's an uncomfortable thing, though. But those things are so sealed up that it's not.
It doesn't matter if you're on the ground or if you're on top of a car. If it's
No.
windy, it sucks to camp.
It's windy,
I try to
yeah.
tell people that. It's like, just know you're going outside.
Yeah, yeah.
Whatever the temperature is outside, that's what's going to be inside
Yeah.
your tent. It's not going to be cooler or hotter. It's
Yeah.
the
is what
AC
it
is your windows.
Yeah.
You know.
Yep. That's it. You know, I don't see any issues with it. Even
Yeah.
my dad and I went camping, kind of by fair play this last go around, and we got tons of wind down there, and we sat in the car for a little bit, watched a movie, and then we were like, we got a big tent up top. Let's go up there, you know. So we went and hung out up there, and it was like, it's windy, can't do a fire or nothing, but you know, we're cozy in here.
Right.
They're pretty well insulated for
Let's
sure.
talk about High Country real quick.
Mm-hmm.
High Country V2, because our shipment just landed finally. So High Country V2, King and Minnie are back.
Yeah.
You guys run King on your Sequoia.
Yeah.
And just when we're talking about weather, I want to touch on why we made High Country the way that we did, and my thought process in making that tent with a full rain cover that's
Sure.
on all the time.
Yeah.
I put people into a category which is may or may not be smart, but like when I think of a Toyota Tacoma owner
Yeah.
that loves overlanding, you know, loves getting out there, I wanted to try to create basically a bomb-proof shelter for them of, dude, you don't have to check the weather.
Yeah.
Just go. But when you have that full rain fly, and then you've got the gap to let air circulate around
Yeah.
the tent, then you've got the interior tent body. What you end up creating is you create some ventilation, but you also create, I don't care what storm you're in.
Yeah.
You're gonna be safe in here. You're waterproof in
Yep.
here. You're good. So that's some of the reasons we made it, because of the thought process of the people that were taking it.
Yeah.
And then when you go to the King, from the Mini to the King, I look at, I'm going from a single guy in his Tacoma, or, you know, a guy and a girlfriend, or a guy and a dog.
Yeah.
To now we're putting it on an SUV and we're going camping with a family.
Yeah. Yeah.
My brain went the same way of like, okay, I don't want a kid to have a bad experience out here, right? So this thing needs to be bomb-proof. Like, I don't want you to close up all the windows and not be able to see out.
Yeah.
They need to be able to see what's going on. So
Yep.
that's why there's PVC windows. So a lot goes into it, and a lot of it's just in my head of why I do certain things. but I feel like we actually nailed it on that tent for what the purpose was.
I would agree.
You agree?
Yeah, in full. I mean, when we first got it mounted up there too, like for anyone wondering, it is blackout dark. Like I had a hard time finding my way around the tent. It was so, and that was midday. You know what I mean? My kids, this last camping trip, they slept until 9 or 10 in the morning. And
That's
it's like,
awesome.
wow, are you guys going to get up or no? You know, and they're like, we didn't even know it was daytime yet.
Yeah.
It's like, it's great. And all night, they're like, Dad, did you see that shooting star? I'm like, no, I wasn't looking, you know, but it's cool that, I mean, people don't understand how massive that tent is.
Yep.
That king is huge.
Do you guys sleep the long way, or do you guys sleep?
It doesn't matter. You can sleep angled if you wanted. That thing's so big. I mean, we sleep the long way typically.
Okay.
But we packed 4 people in it, or 2 adults, 2 kids.
Yep.
You know what I mean? We fit 5 people in it before, so it's not crammed.
Right.
It's like I still have a lot of space in here.
Yep.
You know, and all the features and everything. I don't want to sit here and just be like, free spirits. You know, go buy.
It's got
No.
issues. It's got
But,
issues. We know it.
But it's a good tent. It's solid. And we've ran through a bunch of different tents. We've had GFC was on our Tundra. We had I think we started with a Tepui, like just your run-of-the-mill Tepui. We've had Area BFE. We've had Roof Nest. We've had James Broud, you know, and a lot of them are nice, but there's certain things that set it apart to where, you know, you've got a little slot for a diesel heater. You know what I mean? So that's an amazing feature to have. I don't think any of our other tents had that.
Yep. They all do now because we started.
Well, yeah. Trendsetter. But you know, the little LED light even in there. It's like, that's really nice to have.
Yeah.
I can just put a battery bank up there and run my lights at night. You know what I mean? And then I don't have to be looking for a flashlight and trying to find out. It's just simple things that make sense, you know, and having it black out is incredible as well.
Yeah. I love hearing those stories. Like, I slept through my first sunrise.
Dude.
It's like sick.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm not a good sleeper in general. I probably sleep better when I'm out in the woods, but I sleep really good in the high country just because it's so dark in there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just, you don't have to worry too much about it.
Have you guys had any issues with, like, the color being black and heat?
No. No, there's nothing.
You're not up there hanging out during the day.
No, and even if we were, I mean, the window's unzipped, so it's
Yeah.
not, you get plenty of ventilation through there.
Yeah.
You know, you can ventilate it out if you want or not. You know, we haven't seen anything that made us go, oh, that's a big negative.
Yeah.
Tab that one off, you know what I mean?
Yep. So you guys have High Country V2, V1, in a sense, in 2023.
Yep.
And so some of the changes that are coming, or on the new version of High Country V2, we actually went away from that skirt.
Yeah.
And we went away from that skirt mainly because of the issues with platforms.
Mm-hmm.
And you've dealt with it.
Yeah,
It's a pain in the butt. And
Yeah.
it's nice to have that skirt on there, but I think it's just as nice to just take the cover off.
Yeah.
And it's weird because hard shells like took over and everybody hated covers. Well, then I started making covers for the hard shells and everybody runs the covers on the hard shells. And I'm like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
So we can go back into soft shells.
Yeah.
And you can replace your cover. The skirt is a problem.
Yeah.
If something happens to the skirt, you can't get it in and out.
Yeah,
so from like the preparedness standpoint, like I want people to be able to fix things.
Yep.
Or like know that you're going to go out there, you're going to use this, abuse this, things are going to break.
Sure.
Like accidents are going to happen.
Yeah.
I want you to be able to replace it.
That's a big thing without having to buy a whole new tent. You know what I mean? That's
like $3,000.
Yeah, right. That's an easy thing to just drop. But yeah, I agree that the skirt isn't. I don't know. It's tedious, but I don't think it's unbearable by any means. You know, the only time that I saw it being a big issue is actually that time that it was super windy and we were like, we got to get out of here.
Yep.
It's cold and I'm trying to pack it up. My hands are frozen and I'm trying to dig underneath the Princey rack to latch it. Yeah. But I mean, it's in the wide scheme of things. If I'm going out, I don't mind spending, you know, a little bit longer to pop up a dope tent. You know, it doesn't bother me to kind of set up camp a little bit longer. Some people like to get there and just be like 2 latches and it pops open and you're done. You know what I mean? I know that's the whole like tribal argument between GFC and I think
I can't wait
Super
till the
Pacific or
argument
something.
goes away.
You know, they're
like,
like,
what are we gonna do? Get to a 0?
we're faster. It's like, oh, get a pit crew out there. You know what I mean?
Right.
Let them run it and see how fast. But it's always nice to see that you can pop it up that quick. But that's to each their own.
Yep.
You know, I don't mind setting up tents, but that's me also ground camping for a long time. So.
Yeah. You know, it's
it's
a
not a
part
big-
of the deal.
Yeah,
Anything good doesn't happen with
Well,
a
and-
little work.
And that's, it's not that I don't want to tell people that it's not beneficial to have something that pops open quick. But if I'm out camping, I'm trying to slow my life down.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So I don't want to rush things all the time.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I don't mind doing that. I like to get a tent open and sit around, drink whiskey for sure.
Yep.
But, I don't mind going slower with things. So.
Right. Well, and I run the big tent a lot. I've slept four grown adult men on an elk hunting trip, but we slept the 78-inch way instead of sleeping the 90-inch
Yep.
way. We slept across it, and that was totally fine. But you can sleep the long ways as well. But
Yeah.
I like it because I don't get claustrophobic at all. But like, if I'm gonna go out there and I'm trying to disconnect, I'm trying to revamp, get something out of it. I don't want to sleep like shit.
Yeah.
And so I want to sleep good, and there's something about having a space, and now people are learning the limitations of hard shells.
Yeah.
That's not possible with your guys' family.
Yeah.
It's different, and I think the fold-outs are just tried and true. They've worked since the 60s.
Yeah.
They're still going to work today.
Yep.
And a lot of the times they're better for a lot of people than a hard shell.
If you've got a family, it definitely is better doing it that way, for sure.
You got space.
It's just, you've got space. And that's dependent on how you camp, too, because my wife and I have even discussed, we may get her back in a 4Runner and then, get another tent put on there, just because, plain and simple, Sequoia has 0 storage space.
Right.
So thank you, Toyota, for that.
Right.
But,
We just got a Land Cruiser the other day.
Did you?
Yeah.
How was it?
I think it's pretty sick, but I'm afraid that the GX is going to be light years
better.
above it and better.
I don't know. That GX 550 is pretty dope.
Yeah, well,
it's
so
sweet, man.
good.
I know. So does my wife.
Yeah, there's 400 people on the waiting list over at the dealership here in Golden. And I'm like,
You could find one just for 140 maybe.
Yeah, 140. Although I will say that I told this to, I think it was, I can't remember who I was talking to. We were talking about cars, and if there was one car that I could get right now, it's not an overlanding vehicle, although it probably could be, but I've never rode in a more comfortable car than an LX600 F Sport. I just haven't been in one that was just better.
That we were just reading the other day though that I guess they're doing a bunch of recalls on Toyota's.
really?
recalled a bunch of them. I'm not saying that's bad, they're all bad, but
Well, my truck's affected on the engine.
the LX. Well, and I think our Sequoia has. We've had a few recalls on our Sequoia as well. Just manufacturing process changes. You know what I mean with the economy and.
But do you buy from Toyota because you know they're going to fix it?
No, because most of the time they don't. No, not when I'm
They're
done,
like,
man.
oh man, you got to go fix it.
I took a brand new 2023 Sequoia and just immediately started chopping it up. You know, we had an issue with one of them in the dealership. You know who you are, but they went to do an oil change and smashed our locker sensor, our sway bar. Just crushed it and decimated it. So I went to the homies at Running for Tacos and was like, what are we looking at? And they're like, we're going to have to pull the diff out, bro. I'm like, all right, well, let's duct tape it and see if it works. You know what I mean? So it's just silly.
You guys have been happy with your Sequoia, though,
yeah,
overall?
Yeah. Overall, it's not bad. It's really good for our family just because we've got so many kids. You know what I mean? So it's a nice, and the power. The power is
so fun to
phenomenal,
drive.
dude. It's just wild. We raced I think it was an Infiniti G35 one time just for fun. It was our neighbor's son. And I was like, you want to run him? And he's like, all right. And we raced him and stomped him. And he was like, what is in that? It's a twin turbo hybrid V6, man,
Stock,
it's
baby.
quick, yeah. But then I tried to race a RS7 or something like that. And the dude was just laughing at me, an Audi RS7, giving us a thumbs up. But mean, they're quick, especially
Yeah.
when you build them out. People don't expect a vehicle to move that fast. You know what I mean? Braking, that's a little bit harder, but
Right.
you know.
Did you put 37s or 35s
Yeah,
on it?
we got 37s.
Did you re-gear it?
No, I haven't re-geared. Do they have a re-gear kit yet?
I have no idea. People always are just like, and I'm not the car buff at
Yeah.
all. So they're like, you need to re-gear it. And I'm like, so far it doesn't feel like I had to.
I haven't seen any issues with that 10 speed. It's, I mean, it cranks, dude. It's fast.
What's
It's
your
fun.
favorite car ever?
Favorite car ever, like just in everything?
I mean, it's got to be like a truck or an SUV.
Oh, all right. Because I was gonna say my buddy. Well, not really my buddy, but a dude that I spoke to a couple times. His name's Supercar Ron. He's got a Pagani Huayra. I'm like, that's pretty slick.
That'd be
Slick.
the one.
Yeah, it's solid. I think my 21 Tundra is probably my favorite build.
Yeah.
Out of everything. 4Runner, we've got a lot of memories in, but the Tundra just it suited me. You know what I mean? It worked really well with everything, and it was a fun vehicle. Sequoia would stomp it power wise. So for anyone who's wondering, the V6 hybrids will take a V8 for sure.
Yeah.
But
I haven't driven the Tundra with the hybrid in it. Mine doesn't have the hybrid in it. I still feel like it moves just fine.
Yeah.
I don't feel like it doesn't have as much punch as my old V8
yeah,
Tundra did.
yeah, I will say the torque in the Tundras were nice. It
Yeah.
was really nice to have. But we decked that thing out, man. I had fiberglass front and rear. I did a side exit exhaust. We had
That was your big wide body kit.
yeah,
one, right?
yeah. We had
That was
C4, 37s, long travel from Camberg. So
Damn.
I mean, it was decked out. But I built it, and I was like, this is such a cool truck. I can't fit on any Colorado trails. You
Right.
know what I mean? It's so wide.
Yep.
So it kind of defeated the purpose, you know. And then we had another kid, and I was
Yep.
like, oh, now
Now
we're out
you-
of seats.
now you're out of
So,
seats.
yeah, here we go. But no, it was a good truck. That's probably been my favorite so far. I'm kind of curious about the Ineos though. Have you seen those? I really like the
Yeah.
old school Defenders.
Yep.
And that's like a modernized old school Defender.
I heard driving them takes a while to get used to with
Sure.
how they steer, and they almost like when you I don't know if I have this right, but when you turn and then when you like come out of a turn, you almost have to turn back. Do you know that?
I didn't know that.
Something with the I don't know if it's German, right?
I think so.
Ineos German?
I think so.
I think it is. I don't know if it's how they drive over there or whatnot. Something different they were telling me about. Like, yeah, it's kind of weird to get used to driving, but man, the interior is.
I saw.
It just looks like a airplane cockpit,
Yeah.
like something out of a Black Hawk helicopter.
Saw
Like,
one out of
sick.
King's one time, and I was like creepily looking inside. You know, the guy probably thought I was trying to break in or something, but I was just curious to see what it was because
Yeah.
I'd never seen him before.
I think
thought
the
it was a
little
Defender.
truck's gonna be cool.
Yeah, it'd be pretty sweet.
That's gonna be a cool little rig.
Be pretty sweet. I think a lot of people now are probably straying away from like the Rivians and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like Cybertruck's cool looking ish. I don't know. It's kind of a hit and miss. You really got to be.
I literally almost just bought one I ordered 2 years ago, but I backed out because it's like, oh, I can't. I'm not driving that.
Yeah, I like it. It's such a unique thing, but at the same time, you either like it or you just think it's the ugliest thing in the world.
Yep.
And I guess performance wise, they're just not great off road.
Yeah.
Like not the best.
No,
they're,
I saw
they're
one
cool.
get stuck in like the sand and
Yeah,
like,
like nothing.
you're not pulling it out.
Yeah.
I mean, like it's
Yeah.
heavy.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know. I think a lot of people are kind of starting to stray away from more electric stuff. The Rivians are cool. I guess they've got their like self-leveling
Yep.
kit on it and stuff. But
Do you need it?
no,
Yeah,
you know what I
no.
mean. I'll sleep crooked.
Right.
I don't care. I'm not gonna spend that extra money.
I remember on my Ford, my Super Duty, one of the nicest things is when it brought up whether you were level or not.
Yeah.
And my buddies were like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm just looking at the dash, seeing if I'm at 2 degrees up because I
Yeah.
like to sleep with my head
Yeah.
a little bit elevated.
And most of them have that like tilt feature
Yep.
in them. Most vehicles. I think our Sequoia does
I
too.
think I do too, yeah.
Probably doesn't work because all our sensors are fried, but whatever.
Yeah, it's the one thing about modding a vehicle is
Yeah.
your dashboard is now a Christmas
Yeah,
tree.
yeah. I'm super good at taking Toyota, which is a very reliable vehicle, and making them unreliable.
Unreliable.
Yeah, really good at that. It's fun though. It's a fun experience. I think that the issue that we have with a lot of the newer stuff though is it goes back to you can't like I'm not going to go rip that thing apart.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I don't know nothing about the battery, the hybrid system, or any of that stuff.
Yep.
And they're like, if you pull the wrong fuse, you'll fry your. Like I don't want to deal with that.
Right.
You know, my 4Runner and Tundra, I'd just rip things off.
Yep.
Be like, I don't know what that was. It still runs. I've got this whole big part right here, but it still
Right.
runs, you know, so I guess it's not needed.
Right.
You know, so.
What's your thoughts on the new 4Runner? What, just look.
The look, I think it's sweet. I think it looks cool. My wife's not as big of a fan because we had talked about that as well, but she's like, I think they look like a Frontier and a Sequoia mixed. You know, like had a baby. I think they're cool though.
I think they look like a Dodge Durango.
Dodge Durango, I could see that. I could see that
bit.
for sure. Yeah, I think they're neat looking. It'd be cool to do like my Pupperunner exclusive on it. You know, Alpine it. Not that it's anything.
How'd
fancy,
you come up with Pupperunner, by the way?
That's a good question. Oh, we had a 4Runner. I know exactly how it happened. We had a 4Runner and we had dogs, and our dogs we would always get people that would send us pictures of our dogs, like in the back of our 4Runner, because Bane will wear doggles and stuff like that, just cool German Shepherd and stuff. And so after a while, we came up with the Pupperunner, and it's kind of stuck ever since. So
Very
I
cool.
thought about changing the name a couple times because we no longer have a 4Runner, but you know, it's fun.
You can always get another one.
Sits, yeah. Well, we're talking about it for sure. So I don't know. We'll see.
Well, what anything else on your mind that you know, we've kind of jumped around a lot here, but I think we've talked about some important things and maybe gave some awareness to folks on give a hug to somebody. You know,
it's free.
Yeah, it's free. You know, be human.
Yeah, I don't have much in regards to that. There's a lot of new studies, I guess, kind of coming about. Some stuff. I mean, we could talk about something that's a little more controversial, which is psilocybin that they're starting to kind of experiment with for veterans. I'm not necessarily a pro-drug person. Never been into it, and the industry that I'm in is kind of very strict on a lot of different things. But I've been doing a lot of studies lately with that, but not me personally ingesting it, but studies on it and seeing that there's a huge change in brain pattern for people with post-traumatic stress disorder, which is interesting. You know, and it doesn't necessarily have to be vets.
Right.
There's a lot of people that could have PTSD.
Yep. So. I've said this on the podcast now probably 5 times, and eventually she's going to come on. But I think I've talked to you about my friend Havendale that does. She does a lot of the neuropathic work with PTSD guys or guys that have PTSD and military guys. Also in that world of understanding in 2024 what are these psychedelics going to do to people. I'm not an angel. I've tried a lot of them. I think that a lot of them are fun. More of the experience. I think some things if you go to a different country, puts things into perspective. And I think with some of the psilocybin stuff, it puts things into perspective for people that not things that they understood. Now, I don't know the medical side, and I can't wait to have her on to talk about that, because it's going to be a long episode, cool. I think. But we want to know from her, and I'm putting her on the spot, but we really want to know what actually happens to you. Why do you feel refreshed when you actually go out there? How can we be an avenue for health and wellness to be like, yeah, man, go hike and go sleep because your body needs to disconnect, and this is why, and this is what happens to you. That could be a whole nother episode, and it would be fun to have that talk with her, with people that are going through it, or maybe somebody that she's worked with. That stuff's on the forefront.
That'd be cool, man.
I think it's going to be really interesting over the next 5 years to see what happens.
The neurological stuff has always really fascinated me. You know what I mean? Why do people get to a point where they can no longer stand wanting to live? You know what I mean? Why did I get to that point at a certain point in my life? And, you know, some of it could be a chemical imbalance. Some of it could be a chemical imbalance. Some of it could be just different things that you're dealing with, and how do you get around that? And doing a bunch of studies, I can't remember what the study was, but they were showing that with habits, if you've got bad habits, and doing microdose on psilocybin, which is holistic, you can actually break that habit because it's creating new links in your brain, which is kind of cool, like a new electricity almost. And I thought that was just fascinating, man. A lot of it's the VA's even starting to work with it now, which is great. It's a long time coming, which is great.
I think that's awesome for the vets.
VA's kind of notorious for pushing just a bunch of different prescription drugs without actually looking at counterindications or anything like that, where, you know, I've got a buddy that I served with who was pushed a bunch of different meds from the VA and ended up dying because of it. You know what I mean? Just because they would interact with each other in a bad way, and it harmed him and he ended up passing away from it. But to see a more holistic approach is kind of what's great, and that's something that I would love to try and find an organization that's pushing that politically, through our politicians, to get it into the VA to do more holistic training. And I think they are getting a little bit better about it, but obviously it still comes around. They want to push antidepressants and painkillers like it's
They want to
going
push
out of
shit
style.
they make money on.
Exactly. A good buddy of mine said, we were talking about big pharma and stuff like that, and the whole conspiracy theories, if you want to call it, or whatever. And
that could be a whole nother episode.
Yeah, and I was like, dude, I don't know that I buy into it. And he's like, just remember, they don't make money off you being healthy. And I was like, oh, that's actually a really good point.
That's honestly my biggest gripe right now, and honestly with like the chemical imbalances and everything, like I could go down a long rabbit hole here. I'll try not to, but like I really think it's all the food that you eat.
Yeah.
I think that whether you're working out, whether you're doing cold plunges, you can do all those things, but if you're eating a chicken sandwich like I do from Chick-fil-A that's got 50 ingredients in a damn chicken sandwich, it's like, I just want the chicken.
Yeah.
It happens in other countries, but they're poisoning us here for some reason.
Yeah.
But then everybody wants free healthcare. And it's like, I'm getting to the point now where I'm like, if you guys don't change the food, you should give everybody free healthcare because you're just poisoning them to keep them in the system.
Well, and it's crazy to see a lot of that stuff. I mean, I've been in international places where I've eaten the worst I ever have, and I've felt the best that I ever have. Mm-hmm. And I come here and I eat healthy, and I'm like, I feel terrible.
I feel like shit.
You know what I mean? So, and we're huge on that. Like our family's very big on that. My wife hammers down, man. She's like, nope, that's got this in it. That's got this. You're not eating that. And I'm like, all right, just tell me what to eat then. Like I don't want to have to do the work. I'll make my own homemade tortillas and throw turkey in it, or whatever. But and we've got steak. Part of our family owns a massive cattle ranch in Wheatland, so we get a bunch of cattle from them. But
I think that's why hunting is honestly really
so
taking
big.
A positive turn, is because people want to know, normal people want to know where their food's coming from.
Yeah. And I mean, you can't always trust it. You know what I mean? It's not that I don't trust people. It's that I don't trust our government. What I mean? Not saying I'm like
I don't either.
a rebel or something,
Right.
but I'm not a liberal. I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a conservative. I'm none of that stuff. I don't believe in having someone else take care of me.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'd rather take care of myself.
Right.
You start looking at all of it and understanding some of it. It's like, this is kind of weird.
Yep.
This is getting to a dark area.
We're going into a really interesting time, I think, and I do think the focus on health and wellness is just gonna keep going up and up. And if the consumer takes hold of it, it's like the ranchers that they were like, we're taking back the cattle industry. This is bullshit. Like, and they raised like $300 million in 2 weeks or something like that.
It's crazy.
That stuff's gonna happen. I think it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
But we've always talked about Free Spirit wants to be an avenue for your health and wellness in the worst way, and vehicle sustained travel and getting out there. Like, we're not a food company. But like, we're starting to make kitchen stuff to where like it's not plastic. It's stainless steel. Why? Well, it's because Tanner and I are thinking about, he's drinking water out of a glass jar. I'm still drinking them out of plastic because I'm just lazy in that way.
Sure.
But we want it to be an avenue there.
That's cool, man.
Trying our way to get involved in it a little bit. And I think that's really cool. So we can definitely do episode 2 and we can go down some rabbit holes if you want to, because I love the rabbit holes. I think they're a lot of fun. I think it's fun questioning things. And just seeing what's out there. But dude, it's been awesome having you on
absolutely,
here.
man. Thanks for having me.
I'm going to end with one. The question I always ask everybody is, when you were a kid, is there a vivid memory of camping that like you'll never forget, or it like got you interested in it to now you're doing it as an adult and you're doing it with your kids?
Yeah, it's my father. I know the exact memory. As a matter of fact, I've got a photograph of it at my house. There's this place up where we go camping that I was telling you about generationally, and it's him and I standing next to what we call the Willows, which is just this stream that continues to run down, and that's kind of when he first took me to go fishing and do all that stuff, and that just resonates very heavily with me. So
that's
awesome. Cool to be able to push that to my kids now.
Well, your kids will. they're going to remember it just like you
Yeah.
did. Because Tanner and I always say, we remember this shit
Yeah.
better than our parents do.
Absolutely.
But your kids are also probably going to be able to make their way back there without a map,
Yeah.
even if they didn't go there for 10 years.
Yep.
That's
I would guarantee it. It is cool. It is a cool experience, and it's nice to know.
Awesome.
You know, hopefully as long as they don't develop it.
Right. Yeah.
So,
Keep it free.
We'll see.
Well, Spence, it's been awesome to have
Yeah,
you on.
likewise, man.
Thanks for your service.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for what you're doing, where your
Appreciate
heart's
it.
at. Thanks for supporting Free Spirit.
Yeah, of course.
And we got some goodies for you for that high
Hey.
country that haven't come out yet. They're coming really soon. By the time this airs, hopefully they'll be out. But we'll get you guys set up because we're going
Exciting.
for the Kings of Comfort.
Heck yeah, man.
So-
we're stoked for it.
Another episode. Thanks everybody for watching, and thanks for
Appreciate
being
it.
here, man. Really
Absolutely.
appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Cool.
All right.